34 of the Army's top drill sergeants competed against one another for top honors as the Army's #1 trainer. 4 days of strength, endurance, and knowledge testing, ending with one who was named Drill Sergeant of the Year. Staff Sergeant Calvin Smithers from Fort Jackson, South Carolina, won the 1992 Active Duty Drill Sergeant of the Year title. He says commitment is what counts.
Loving my job, dedication, you know, reading books and staying, hit the books hard and doing it not because I'm preparing for a board, but because it's what I do every day. You know, it's my job, and that's my responsibility to the soldiers to make sure they're properly trained.
The 1992 Reserve DI crown went to Staff Sergeant Anthony Cunningham, representing the 98th Division. Each year, drill sergeants give thousands of soldiers their first taste of the Army, an experience they'll not soon forget. Sergeant Florence Billman, Fort Monroe, Virginia.
As we've been reporting to you all this week, the drawdown is forcing many different services and activities to reevaluate and plan how to best serve the shrinking amount of customers they'll serve in the future. Sergeant Clay Cogsdale reports on how AFIS and the Defense Commissary Agency are dealing with the drawdown.
BXs and commissaries are approaching the military reduction in Europe with a continuing commitment of service to the customer.
For a base that was scheduled for closure, we would work very, very closely with the installation command to make sure that we were able to stay open till the very last possible minute.
The two agencies that operate BXs and commissaries meet quarterly to solve problems like those caused by the troop reductions. April's meeting was held at Spangdahlem Air Base, Germany. Lieutenant General Clifford Reese, Jr., the vice commander of USAFE, is on both the AFIS and DECA boards. He says as a base is affected by reductions, the BX and commissary will too, but not at the same time.
As you get towards the very tail end of a base's life, if you will, the nature of the population changes. The families will have already gone home in many circumstances, and the remaining people will be unaccompanied members. And therefore, the needs of the commissary and the base exchange are going to change according to that.
Another consideration is consolidation. There are no plans for bases to share BXs or commissaries because of the cutbacks. But Major General Charles Link, the 3rd Air Force commander and its representative to AFI's board of directors, says that possibility has not been ruled out.
If we're going to have relatively inexpensive services and products, we've got to be attentive to standard business concerns. So we'll do that where it makes sense, where it's not too big an inconvenience on our people.
Even after the cutbacks are completed, AFIS and DECA officials say customers can expect service as good or better than what's available now. Sergeant Clay Cogsdale, EBS News, Spangdahlem Air Base, Germany.
Military members here in Europe who live in government housing areas have a shared responsibility to keep their village clean. The Cobb housing area near Forth is currently battling a problem with their trash disposal. Sergeant Gerald Johnson reports on how they're dealing with the problem to try and make things better.
Trash collection in the Cobb housing area has been slow in recent weeks. The Directorate of Engineering and Housing, or DEH, is currently responsible for collecting the trash. The problem here involves a shortage of manpower to operate 2 of 7 working trucks that are being kept running with the spare parts from a broken truck. 99th ASG Recycling Officer, First Lieutenant Dennis Ertel, says some Cobb residents do their best to separate and recycle, but others apparently don't care.
Well, maybe, I don't know if it's a bad attitude or laziness or a feeling that it's somebody else's problem, but we have a lot of residents, unfortunately, that feel like they can just take the trash, throw it next to the dumpster, or throw big, huge bags of unseparated trash in and not do little things like crush cans or flatten boxes. And we end up either taking up a lot of space in the dumpsters because of that kind of attitude, or we end up with just big piles of trash on the ground because people don't want to find an empty dumpster or don't want to fit it into the dumpsters that are available.
And once the trash starts to pile up, there are obvious health risks. But help is on the way. The city of FERT is contracted to start collecting the trash this summer. But if the problem still isn't solved, DEH may resort to methods used in the past.
And what I hate to see happen, but we may actually have to resort to, is taking all the trash containers out of the housing area, putting them someplace in a locked-in yard, bringing the people out there and having them go.
Swirling, twirling land of fairy tales with the Mad Hatter's teacups and Dumbo the flying elephant. One of the favorite attractions is It's a Small World.
We were the first ones on Small World. It's a small world.
It is beautiful.
It is so amazing.
And we've both been to both Disneylands in America, and this is just as beautiful. It's just beautiful.
We get in a boat, and then
it's so clean.
And then all of a sudden you hear the music, and everything sparkles, and there's colors, and then you ride through, and you go through all the lands, and it's just, I don't know. It's just
right there.
It's just right there.
Frontierland takes us back to the Old West with steamboats, cowboys, and engines. Their creaking, rattling, and screaming comes from both Thunder Mountain and the Haunted House.
When we got on Thunder Mountain, then it was a roller coaster, so we were going down, and I said to my mom when we got off of the ride, I said, you know, it's probably like best when they go up, and it looks like you're going to go down, except you turn, you just go turning off.
It's really the only one that when you go through, over half the ride is just complete blackness.
That one, my mom didn't know where the ghost was, and it was really on top of our cart. Well, the best part was when we were in the elevator, and there was this, and then the monsters came up, and they were in the top, and then the grown-ups started screaming and being silly.
In Adventureland, Robinson Crusoe's treehouse.
Commander in Europe, General John Galvin, unveiled a plaque dedicating a C-47B Skytrain, restored by the museum to honor the contributions of American aviators in winning the Second World War. The Victory Museum, located on the border between Belgium and Luxembourg, holds more than 200 restored vehicles. General Galvin said that places like the museum clearly display the European appreciation for America and American participation in European security.
What this museum shows is all the Allies working together. And now we have the new alliance after the end of the war, which includes some of the former enemies. And we've had that for 40 years. And now there's an expansion of that. So that even in the Central and Eastern European countries, with the North Atlantic Cooperation Council, we are bringing together interlocking institutions.